Would you state your name and then the unit you served in and your rank?
Manuel Moreno. I was in the 3rd Division, uh, 15th Infantry, Company H, which is a heavy weapons company, and I was a section leader. And I had two 30 caliber water-cooled machine guns and 14 soldiers that I had in combat with me.
Yeah, that you would be like responsible for.
Yes, I was a section leader, and I was responsible for their health, their welfare, and directing the fire whenever necessary.
Yeah.
Because the machine gun, as you know, is an automatic weapon that the enemy is one of the priorities to take out. So we were a prime target.
Yeah, I would imagine. Now your unit's been around for a long time. It's been a lot of different
They were in
engagements.
China before the World War. In the 39, 40s, they were the 15th Infantry was in China, and then from there they went to Fort Lewis, and of course then they went overseas. But it's an old outfit, 3rd Division.
Yeah. How long is it? Do you know how long it's been around for?
No, no, I don't. They call it the Rock of the Marne because they were in China, and that's where the 50th Infantry got their symbol of the dragon,
Hmm.
the regimental crest that they wear.
Yeah, I've seen it on
I
there
wish I had
on the
one.
pin. Yeah, exactly.
It says "Can Do" on it. They got that from China. Can do.
Can do. Is that like the motto? Motto
That's
of the
the
unit?
Can do. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Why did you decide to join, like the army?
Well, I didn't decide. It was at that time, 42. They had a draft,
Oh.
and I was drafted. I was living in Fulton, California, and I was drafted, and my dad was drafted at the same time. And so my dad says, "No way." He was working for the Santa Fe Railroad, and he said, "No way am I going to." So he had a sister living in Stockton, so the whole family went to Stockton to get away from the draft. And we got a knock on the door one time from the Selective Service that we had to report to the drafting board. So we both went over there, and at that time there were classifications of 1, 2, 3, and 4 that were deferred. And because he worked in the railroad and it was essential to the war efforts, they classified him as 4F, which he didn't have to go.
Hmm.
But me, they got me 1A. So I was drafted there sent in Stockton, and was sent with a bunch of other soldiers to Camp Carson, Colorado, or in the midwinter, and I took basic training there.
How was that? What was basic training like?
I didn't know I was going to be specialized in machine guns because you took your basic training with a rifle and all that. And we were at the firing range at 300 yards, had the line of all machine guns, and we were trying to qualify, and they had a target that had a 300 yard big target that had 4 1-inch squares across, and 4 diagonally, and then 4 across. And you had to sit, as a gunner, you sit down, and the assistant gunner feeds the ammunition in the belt. And you had to fire with your left hand and fire a burst of 6 in each little square. You fire a burst, and then you manipulate to the next target. And the guy alongside of me was saying, I was down to the bottom, and he said, "Moreno," he says, "you're doing real good." He said, "But be sure that you get these in because the general is standing right behind you." Oh, that got me I was off there, you know. But from that experience, I made corporal for having such a high score. And I remember taking training with a machine gun in the winter in Camp Carson, Colorado. And they had big 50-gallon drums on each side of the gun with fire so it keep us warm. And we were firing night fire and all that. And Camp Carson was in, every morning we get up, we see Pikes Peak, and we go to Colorado Springs, and they had a bar named the Blue Spruce, and all of us went in the men's bathroom and wrote something on the wall, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it was Gary's brother works in Colorado. I asked him, I said, go to Colorado Springs and see if there's a Blue Spruce there at bar. No, there's no such thing.
Oh,
So there I took basic and they made me acting leader, which was 2 stripes, corporal. And I didn't have to work in the kitchen at all. I never done 1 day of KP, as they call it,
Yeah.
wash dishes, pots, and pans. And from there, they selected us and we went to Camp Blanding, Florida for advanced training. And from there, we went up to go overseas. And we were at, we boarded what they converted a luxury liner, Empress of Scotland. The Newport News was the port where we went off. Newport News and Empress of Scotland was a big luxury liner converted to a troop ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, at that time, it was, those cruise ships were so fast that the U-boats, what they call submarines,
German submarines.
we outrun them.
Yeah.
And so only thing I remember about the trip is that we had these mess gears already issued, and we would be sitting eating chow on these long tables, and we would be eating, and the ship would tip over or deal all of our trays.
Oh, you chase, yeah.
Down the other end, so we had to bring it back. We landed in Casablanca, Africa. By that time, the armed forces had.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
1942.
42.
Yeah, 42. We landed in Casablanca, and then we joined the replacement company. And I went as a replacement with many others all through Africa, just a replacement in case they needed us, and part of Sicily. And then in February of 43, I joined the 3rd Division in Sicily, and then we got ready. Took maneuvers, landing maneuvers, to invade Anzio in Italy. We made, as far as I can remember, the landing was in the LCVPs as a landing craft personnel, and we made the landing, and we had all our gear on. And
How much stuff did you have to carry? How many pounds?
We had, of course, we had a raincoat. And we had the belt. We carried 2 canteens, and we carried a first aid packet, and then we carried another packet of sulfa, and then we carried our field jacket, and of course our steel hat with a plastic one inside. And our individual weapon, I had a submachine gun, 45 caliber submachine gun, and we had modified it for weight purposes. We took the wooden handle out,
make it lighter.
And then we had 15 round clips of ammunition. And what we done, we took some tape and we converted one on the other, so when we fired out, we just turned it upside down.
Yeah.
And we had that machine gun like that. We landed in Anzio, and all of them we got wet because they dropped us too quick. But nobody drowned, but quick. And we landed, and we didn't meet no resistance at all. But we found out later that the soldiers that were there were staying with some Italian girls and some of the. It was all, they had 2-story farmhouses, all open field, and about, I think it was 3, 4, 5 miles, that the hills started up. And we landed, and we took our defensive positions, and then the general told us to dig in, make our foxholes, and he sent a jeep with a lieutenant, a sergeant, and 2 other people in a jeep on this Highway 7 that ran all the way down, all the way to Rome, actually. But he wanted to go up over the hill, up to high ground, and see how far he could go. And they went quite a ways past the top of the ridge with no resistance at all, and then they found some, so then they raided it back. So there was a big commentary later that the general goofed up because at that time he should have sent all his troops up to the high ground.
Yeah, exactly. Taking it.
So we stayed in this valley, like looking down at us, and it didn't take very long for the Germans to organize and come and take the high ground. And we stayed in our foxholes in the wintertime, and there, mud and water, and,
Yeah.
for 3 months. We busted out in March. Most of us, if not all, got trench foot,
Yeah. I would think.
and because we couldn't go out in the daytime. Only at night we come out to get our rations and ammunition, what have you. A lot of people got wounded there. We had a good defense line, but the field was so muddy and all that. Everybody was trying to get on the second deck of take over this farmhouse so they could use it.
Get a little higher ground, right?
Yeah, look at the observation point and see the Germans had at that time a Tiger tank, which would fire shells that would penetrate our tanks. That's how powerful they were, and we saw this. I remember we were in a lines, and of course our position was to cover the infantry whenever we were moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw this. The only road that was passable was a long line of Tiger tanks coming toward us, and the infantry was spread on the side coming. And they were shelling from the shore and all that. And they told us to go back to our secondary position. So we had to crawl back, and I remember some things just stay in my mind. I looked back, and we had been issued long wool overcoats.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked back, and I saw this one soldier stand up, and he got a direct hit from one of the tanks. And I could just see he stand up, and all of a sudden he just disappeared. So we crawled back, and while we were crawling back in this ditch, the Germans had a 88 anti-aircraft gun, but they were using it for the ground troops because it had a high velocity and a lot of shrapnel.